welcome to the In the Huddle YouTube channel. Today we will be talking about Patrick Mahomes and the massive deal he got from the Kansas City Chiefs. Up front, this looks like a great deal for the Chiefs and for Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is getting paid a ton, $500 million over 10 years, and the Chiefs are going to have their star quarterback for the next 12 years. He's not going to be a free agent until 2032. Despite this massive deal to the former MVP winner, the Super Bowl MVP, history has said otherwise, that this is a bad idea to give players a 10-year deal. We will be looking at the 5 other players who've gotten a 10-year deal in the NFL's history and how it ended up turning out for them. So let's first start off with Brett Favre, who was the first player that got a 10-year, or at the time it was called a lifetime deal, for $100 million. In the offseason of 2001, the Packers ended up giving Brett Favre a 10-year deal. At that point, he had led them to 2 Super Bowls, and he had even won one of them with them. Favre went on to play 7 more years with the Packers, and he went 69-43 and threw for 187 touchdowns and 131 interceptions. He also threw for 26,949 yards. He did retire after those 7 years, but he did come out of retirement and he played with the Jets and the Vikings. He ended up going 9-7 with the Jets, which isn't too impressive. But he did end up leading the Vikings to an NFC Championship before throwing a costly pick that would help the Saints go on to win their first Super Bowl. Brett Favre, that deal was probably a win for the Packers. They got 7 years out of him. Good deal for them. They did not make a Super Bowl or even win one, but it was still a good deal. They had a lot of good seasons with Favre after they gave him the deal in 2001, and I think it's a success overall. Now moving on to the next player, Drew Bledsoe. He also got a 10-year deal in the 2001 offseason, and he made $103 million. He ended up playing 2 games with the Patriots. And then some guy by the name of Tom Brady ended up taking over the team, and they won the Super Bowl that year. Bledsoe gets shipped out to Buffalo, where he ends up playing 48 games there. He goes 23-25. He throws 55 touchdowns, 43 picks, and 10,151 yards in those 3 years. He ended up playing with Dallas for a little bit. He went 12-10 in his career there, and then he ended up retiring. Bledsoe is the biggest story of how someone was able to take advantage of his injury and just change sports history forever. If Bledsoe does not get injured against the Jets, Brady never really gets an opportunity like the one he got, and he probably does not win 6 rings. So that was a huge injury. It did not end up working out for the Patriots, the deal. He played 2 games, so basically less than a year of the 10 years. That was obviously not worth it for Patriots, Bills, whoever he played for. But that was an unfortunate circumstance where he just ended up getting injured. Maybe he could have proven he was worth it. We don't know. We'll never know. But he ended up playing only 1 year with his team. Now let's move on to Donovan McNabb, which is an interesting story as well. McNabb was given actually a 12-year deal worth $115 million. Funny enough, Andy Reid was the coach for the Eagles at the time, so this is his second massive deal giving a quarterback. He led the Eagles to a Super Bowl after the big deal, but they ended up losing to the Patriots. I believe this was 2004 or 2003. He went 68-35-1 after the deal was given to him with Philadelphia. He threw 162 touchdowns with 68 interceptions and 25,327 yards. McNabb was 25 when given this deal, so he's only a year older than Patrick Mahomes, who's 24. Injuries did end up costing McNabb quite a few games, as In the 128 games he could have possibly played in the regular season through the 8 years, he only played 104, so he basically missed a year and a half worth of games. He ended up finishing career by playing with the Redskins and the Vikings, but nothing really came out of those games, as he was too late in his career to do anything, and his prime was in Philadelphia. He did end up leading Philly to a Super Bowl, and they did have quite a few playoff runs with McNabb, but they never ended up winning the big thing. Now let's move on to Dante Culpepper, who actually was given a 10-year, $102 million deal. So this was the fourth deal ever in the history of the NFL. That was 10 plus years. And he actually had not done too well before this. He had a solid year, so it was confusing. He went 21-22 in his first 4 years. And it's not like he had a crazy year in his fourth year that's told the Vikings, okay, let's lock him up for 10 years. Bit of a strange decision, but after his deal, he played 3 years with the Vikings, with 17-20. That wasn't really great. He ended up getting traded to Miami after he had a knee injury. Injuries just derailed his career, and he was the pick over Drew Brees. Miami picked Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees, which was looks like a crazy decision now, but many were thinking, what can Brees do? Because he had a nasty injury himself. Culpepper did end up playing with the Oakland Raiders and Detroit Lions later in his career, but it didn't end up leading to much. Culpepper played 3 years with the Vikings after his massive deal, and I forgot to include this, but Donovan McNabb played 8 years, which is the most out of any player to stay with one team after given a 10-plus year deal. Now, we're going to move on to the last player, and the one who had the most potential, Michael Vick. Michael Vick was given a 10-year, $130 million deal. This was in December of 2004. We all know how good Michael Vick was. He had gone 11-4 with the Falcons in 2004. He ended up playing 2 more years with them after this. After the deal, he went 15-16 in those games. Oh, those were the 2 years he had previously played. He went 15-16. This was his third year with him. Goes 11-4. He throws, after the deal, he throws for 4,886 yards, goes 35-26 touchdowns and receptions, and he had 10 rushing touchdowns and 1,600 rushing yards. Then he has the incident with the dogs. He ends up getting arrested, can't play. He doesn't play for 2 years. And he ends up going to Philadelphia, where he plays 5 years under Andy Reid. He goes 20-20, has almost 10,000 passing yards, 57-33 touchdown to interception ratio, and he finished his career with the Jets and the Steelers, where he didn't really play that much. Vick only played 2 years with the Falcons, and this one was really disappointing, because Vick had a really good year in 2004, and he looked like what Lamar Jackson was now. Everyone was thinking, what can Michael Vick become? But he never was able to live up to that potential due to unfortunate incident. Here's what I found interesting about this. Of all the players who've been given a 10-plus year deal, they play with that team for an average of 4 years. No player has even played for the whole 10 years. So it's going to be interesting to see what Mahomes can do if he does play for those 10 years, and what he does, like, success-wise. What can he do with taking up this much money? Because the Chiefs don't have as much money they can pay their players now. If Mahomes is taking up that much of a chunk of the salary cap, they have to be very smart with their money, and they might have to make some tough decisions. So those are my thoughts on the Patrick Mahomes contract. Comment below what you think Mahomes will do in the next 10-12 years. And also comment if you think the Chiefs will end up regretting this decision. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.